Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to get more in depth with my assessment of Luna Snow based on having played her now for over 24 hours and seeing what the character can do, at least mostly geared out at tier 1. And I can extrapolate by comparing her to other characters to see how she will be at tier 2. I'm not going to rush her to get there, and I don't actually recommend that you do. So if you're looking for a little bit of silver lining, if you don't have the rank up tickets or you don't have the crystals to get Luna Snow quickly, and you're worried about having to get her to tier 2, to catch up with the meta or something like that, fear not. She's basically almost an even better version of Sharon Rogers. Her power level at tier 1 is incredible. Her damage is off the charts. It's very, very good. And her skill rotation is extremely flexible given that she has skills that come off on different cooldowns. She has multiple iframes, and she also has the encore passive effect, which can create situations in which you can spam her skills multiple times, which does complicate her skill rotation, but it also makes it so much easier if you're just the type of person that wants to spam buttons. So I do come bearing good news about my overall assessment of Luna Snow. As far as my build for the character right now, I managed to get 2 of her gears up to 20 with the 180 bios that I collected from the event, which gave me 150, the Luna Snow event. I got an additional 11 from just regular RNG drops from the event battle, and then I got 20 from my bio subscription that I had been previously using for Quasar. So hopefully I'll be able to fast track the rest of her gears up to 20 and then use a tier 2 ticket on her in the coming days, hopefully in less than a week. As far as her ISO 8 set goes, I rolled Power of Angry Hulk. I think Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive are both perfect. Power of Angry Hulk might be better because she has no attack speed buffs, no attack speed bonuses, and usually that's where people are lacking attack speed from their cards. And Overdrive, as we know, is notoriously hard to roll, so unless you get lucky, settle for Power of Angry Hulk. If you want to go defensive, I think Drastic Density is a great choice. Binary Power as a secondary option is okay, but I think that DDE is your best choice, and those would be the only choices for the ISO 8 set. As far as the obelisk goes, I wanted to go big for Luna Snow and see how far she could go if pushed enough, so I went and equipped the only CTP of destruction that I had. I was going to give it to Jean Grey, but might as well have some fun, try it on Luna Snow. I don't think she does need guard break immunity, although this obelisk does give it to her. I think while it is nice to have and it helps her in certain situations, because she has so many iframes and because you can rotate through them, as you'll see from some of these clips, pretty aggressively, even with enemies in your face, it does kind of narrow down the number of situations in which you will need to guard break. And you can even use her 4th skill to entice the enemy, because it works on literally all enemies, Frost Beast, World Boss, everything. That you can count that in addition to counting the iframes as all time where you won't have to rely on guard break immunity, because you can't get guard broken if they're being enticed, and then you can't get guard broken if you're in iframes. In auto-controlled and non-manual PvP stuff like Conquest, it's probably best to give her a guard break immunity obelisk. I totally admit that. Her 5th skill is easy to guard break. Her 2nd and 3rd skills and 4th skills are easy to guard break, so she's got a lot of gaps. Her 1st skill is the only one that's an instant iframe that protects her from guard break indefinitely. But otherwise, on top of guard break, you want to have a couple of the following effects. Cold damage, of course, is always a plus, and I was originally going to give her this guard break, cold damage, 4-second invincibility obelisk. This is nigh perfect for Luna Snow. I might still give it to her after unequipping the CTP of destruction, but I wanted to see whether the chance to penetrate and the increased damage was more worthwhile on her for PvE and PvP than the 4 seconds of invincibility. Right now she hits like an absolute truck in PvE. I was able to clear Infinity Thanos in 4 minutes with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, so I only took up 40 seconds to do that with Ironheart and Coulson, as you can see from the clip. Conversely, and I wanted to compare this to another speed character who is in this case native tier 2, Quicksilver, with his CTP of energy and his maxed out Uru, his maxed out, or not maxed out, but his ISO 8 set, was only able to clear it in a similar amount of time for around 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So you can see that at tier 1, she can already match the damage of a tier 2 native hero who also has a CTP and who has much better stats. I mean, he's got 55% crit rate, 200% crit damage, max ignore defense. He's got 53% ignore dodge. Meanwhile, Luna Snow is sitting at only 40% crit rate, 191 crit damage, less than perfect ignore defense. Overall, much lower scores, and she's not even tier 2 yet. The tier 2 passive is going to add a lot of damage, 30% cold, stacked on top of the skill and bonus damage. So I expect some insane numbers from her and some insane clear speeds, very similar to how we felt about Sharon Rogers when she came into the game and how dominant she was in terms of damage. Now, I don't think Luna Snow is going to take over for Jean Grey or Quicksilver or Scarlet Witch and some of these top tier metas. She doesn't have ignore iframe. She doesn't have pierce natively or penetration natively without a CTP of destruction, so she definitely doesn't have those things going for her. She also doesn't have really long iframes like someone, for example, Thanos or Apocalypse, who can hide behind their iframes. She also doesn't have a revive, so she is missing some of those meta defining and meta breaking effects. But I think she's going to be very close to the meta. I would probably compare her right now to someone like Spider-Man 2099. So if you do have a running BOW subscription and you have mega rank up tickets, you can kind of compare these two characters, I think, in similar fashion. Spider-Man 2099 might have better overall value because of his leadership and because of the webbing that can shut down most characters, and also the fact that he has like auto defense and auto iframes built into his tier 2 passive and his 4-star passive. But besides those effects, Luna Snow probably hits as hard, if not much harder, than 2099 does. And then she also has the 5 seconds of Entice, which gives her massive crowd control on curtain call, and then she has the self heal, so she's extremely flexible. She's almost like a hybrid of Agent Venom, Spider-Man 2099, and Enchantress, because she has the raw damage of Agent Venom, who was competing for the top spot at the time in Extreme Alliance Battle, which was crazy for that you know, combat hero heavy day. But then she also has the crowd control of Enchantress, and she also just has the overall potential to stay in the meta with someone like Spider-Man 2099. An additional side note on top of guard break immunity, cold damage, and then either invincibility or a damage proc, you could also give Luna Snow ignore dodge, and she would use that specifically to counter the Quicksilvers and the Spider-Man 2099s, but also force Extreme Alliance Battle Speed Hero Day. I don't want to dwell too long on my findings for this day because I think that Extreme Alliance Battle is a horrible game mode and it needs to be revamped, so I don't want to advertise it and discuss it in a meaningful way because right now it's broken in my opinion. But I think that Luna Snow is going to be the new #1 speed hero. Whether you want to accept it or not is up to you, and if you want to keep on using Quicksilver, that's totally fine, or if you're using someone else entirely like Elsa or Gwenpool or Spider-Gwen or Spider-Man or a bunch of other speed heroes, that's great. But if you want the facts, from everything that I see, it looks like, and from my scores, Luna Snow is going to score higher, quite a bit higher than Quicksilver, probably close to 500,000 when all is said and done, perhaps more if she gets a better leadership than Misty Knight or Spider-Man 2099 in the future. As far as whether you can use 2099 or Misty Knight, I got similar scores with both of them, but it's a little bit more consistent for me with 2099 because of the damage proc landing without the dodge effects of the beast, in addition to the fact that she's tier 1. Of course, she's going to do a lot more damage at tier 2, but the fact that I'm scoring almost 200,000 at tier 1 with partial ISO or partial Uru and unawakened ISO says a lot for the character's potential. I have no doubt that I can crack 300,000 plus at tier 2, and then once I get everything maxed out, I could probably push 450 and close to 500 myself if I kept the CTP of destruction or if I switched it for a CTP of energy. But other than that, I think that the character is in a pretty good position to have a long lasting impact in the game, and it has definitely solidified the comeback of the speed class. I for a long time really lambasted Netmarble for making weak and making poor speed characters, and they've really done a good job of fixing that up with characters like Vulture 2099, Spider-Man, the Spider-Gwen uniform, Rogue, Quicksilver, Luna Snow X23, and more recently the Falcon uniform. They've really cleaned up this class. It used to be an absolute joke, but I think it's a lot better now. Even the likes of Kraven have their place in the game. There are definitely still a bunch of weak characters that need a much requested facelift and new uniform or top to bottom rework, but it's nice to see them trying to bring a little bit of balance here. They could have made her Blast, for example, but we know how bloated that class is, so it's it's good that they didn't, and it's nice to see kind of an antithesis to Sharon Rogers potentially building up between Luna Snow and the original OG character, so there is also that to think about. Let me know what you guys have in store so far for Luna Snow, how you feel about the character, and what her power level is like when you're playing with her. I'm rank 957 right now, so there's still a lot of people ahead of me that could be pulling higher scores and dominating more, but from what I see in Luna Snow's case, it's very promising so far. Hit me up in the comments, let me hear what you have to say. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.